The more you try to be the man she should want, the faster she loses interest. You have seen it. Perfect body, great job, every box ticked, yet she is polite, distant, never chasing. Meanwhile, a man with nothing on paper has her hooked. Machiavelli knew obsession is born from distance and from what she cannot reach. In this video you will learn how to flip that dynamic without begging or proving. If effort ever made you invisible, stay until the end. 1. Debunking the attraction checklist myth. The moment you became everything they told you to be was the moment she began to drift. You thought building yourself into the perfect man would make her stay. You imagined that every box ticked was another lock on the door to her heart. Yet the truth is sharper than rejection itself. Sometimes the more perfect you look on paper, the more invisible you become in her world. Daniel was 31, a financial analyst in Chicago. He had climbed from nothing into a life most men quietly envy. 6-figure income, a lean, sculpted body, suits that fit like they were made for him. On dating apps, his profile glowed with matches, his calendar filled with first dates. Women smiled, asked about his work, praised his discipline. He took them to rooftop bars, ordered wine with ease, spoke with the calm of a man who knew his worth. At least he thought he did. Weeks later, the energy shifted. Messages slowed. Invitations became polite declines. One woman, after a weekend trip where he paid for everything, sent a short text thanking him and vanished. The deepest cut came in a quiet coffee shop. He was mid-story about closing a deal when she looked down at her phone, typed a reply, and her smile changed into a mask of courtesy. In that flicker, he felt the air leave the room. She was no longer here. All his effort had made him admirable, but not magnetic. Machiavelli would say he had built a fortress of gold, but left no reason for anyone to want to climb its walls. Women do not fall in love with the fortress. They fall in love with the man whose presence feels unshakable without having to prove anything. The checklist you were given is a stage prop. Impressive from a distance, but hollow when the curtain falls. Without the fire inside, all the trophies turn cold. What comes next is not noise. It is the hidden trigger that draws her to a man who, on paper, should not stand a chance. Daniel believed achievement was the proof of value. She saw it as the starting point any man his age should have reached. He thought attention was earned by showing everything. She experienced it as certainty, and certainty removed the tension. Without tension, desire withers. Predictability is the quiet killer of attraction. When was the last time she looked down at her phone mid-sentence and you felt the room change? Be honest, and I will give you the move to pull the air back in your favor. Type a few words or drop a green check right now. Stop leading with what you have. Stop thinking the next purchase, the next promotion, or the next upgrade will change the way she feels in your presence. For the next week, watch how often you speak about your work or your possessions, compared to how often you simply hold her gaze without selling yourself. Let her feel something before she evaluates anything. The next step will show you why her perception of your value matters more than the value itself. Walk away now and you will keep chasing women who were never chasing you. Stay and you will discover the truth behind sexual market value discrepancy and why it makes her fight to keep you in her orbit. 2. Sexual market value discrepancy. The most dangerous mistake is believing attraction is decided by what you own or what you look like. You think if you upgrade enough, she will upgrade her interest. Yet the truth is quieter and more brutal. Desire lives in the gap between how she sees herself and how she sees you. Close that gap, and her obsession dies. Ethan was 34, a marketing consultant in Los Angeles. He had done the work. Designer apartment overlooking the city, well-cut suits, a car that turned heads. His dating profile looked like a highlight reel. On a Friday night, he joined friends at an underground bar. He noticed her almost immediately standing near the glass rail, laughing with her friends. They talked. She smiled, asked about his work, complimented his style. Everything felt on track until another man approached. This man wore a plain t-shirt and jeans. His shoes had scuffs, his watch was cheap, but when a friend made a sarcastic remark, he replied with a perfectly timed line that made the group burst into genuine laughter. He did not flinch or glance around for approval. He just leaned back, relaxed, as if the moment belonged to him. Ethan watched her turn toward that man, eyes sharp with curiosity. She asked him questions. She lingered. In less than 10 minutes, the man with no visible advantages had shifted the energy of the entire group. Machiavelli would say Ethan had the army, the castle, and the gold, but the other man held the banner that made people rally. Sexual market value is not an inventory sheet. It is the aura that says you can walk away at any time and still be complete. It is the calm that makes others measure themselves against you without you lifting a finger. What comes next is not a story about luck. It is the structure of perception that turns ordinary moments into status shifts. Ethan thought status came from stacking achievements. She read status in the way a man occupied space. He believed value was proven by possessions. She felt value in the way someone's attention could be given or withheld. The man in the t-shirt had no checklist to show, yet in that room he was the most valuable man, because his presence suggested he already had what mattered. Stop chasing the illusion that you can buy your way into the top tier of desire. For the next few days, observe how you enter a room. Do people adjust to you, or do you adjust to them? Notice how you respond to jokes, interruptions, or silence. These are the moments that either raise or lower your perceived value. Next time a man with less on paper takes the attention in the room, will you hold your ground or adjust to him? If you dare, say it, and I will show you how to turn that moment into your advantage. One word or a fire emoji is enough. Leave it now. In the next part, you will learn how women sort men into categories the instant they meet them, and how that silent judgment decides whether they begin the slow slide into addiction or forget you by morning. Skip what comes next, and you will keep wondering why the man with less still wins. Stay, and you will see how the frame of value system controls every interaction before a word is spoken. 3. The frame of value system. The first few seconds she meets you decide more than the next 3 months will. She is not memorizing your job title. She is not calculating your salary. She is scanning for something that cannot be listed on a resume. And if you fail this silent test, everything you say afterward is damage control. Alex was 35, an architect with an office overlooking the city. That night, at a gallery opening, he wore a tailored suit and a confident smile. He spotted a woman across the room, poised, laughing with friends. When they began talking, he shared his recent projects, his travels, the recognition he had earned. She nodded, smiled, even asked a question or two, but her gaze kept drifting toward the bar where another man stood. He wore a plain shirt, leaned against the counter, and listened more than he spoke. When someone made a teasing remark, he replied with a short, perfectly timed line that made the group laugh. He did not glance around for approval. He did not adjust his stance. She excused herself from Alex mid-sentence and walked toward the other man. Alex stood there, still holding his drink, realizing she had just chosen without needing to compare. His suit, his portfolio, his careful words, none of it had put him on the shelf she wanted to reach for. Machiavelli would have said Alex fought like a man weighed down by armor that impressed the eye but slowed the strike. Sexual market value lives in perception, and perception bends to the frame you project. A strong frame says you set the terms, a weak frame says you will bend to theirs. Women read this before they remember your name. Up next, you will see how holding the right frame does more than keep her interest. It makes others step closer without you saying a word. He believed achievements would prove his worth. She saw each as proof he needed her recognition. He thought confidence was telling stories. She felt confidence in the man who could stand in silence and feel no need to explain himself. In her mind, there were only 2 shelves, above me or below me. Once you are placed, almost nothing can move you. When did you last watch her walk toward another man while you stood explaining yourself? Do not sugarcoat it. I will show you the flaw that made you invisible. Write a few words or drop an X so others see the cost. In your next conversation, let silence breathe. Watch your body language when her eyes meet yours. Do you lean in to win her approval or stay still because you are already certain of your place? What comes next is the subtle advantage that turns the right kind of attention from others into the strongest anchor for her desire. The next part reveals the quiet advantage that makes her compete without realizing it. Miss it, and you will keep chasing while someone else becomes the prize in her mind. 4. The power of pre-selection. The fastest way to be placed beneath her is to show her you are trying to climb up. Every extra compliment, every eager smile, every moment you try to prove your worth tells her, without a word, that you doubt it yourself. And once she feels you are seeking her recognition, she stops wondering about you. Mark, 33, worked in finance. He was used to getting results through effort, so with women he applied the same rule. When he met Sophie at a charity event, he gave her his best attention, remembering details, texting first, arranging perfect dates. She always said yes, but her replies grew slower, her tone cooler. One night, at a mutual friend's birthday, he saw her across the room talking with another man. This man was not taller, richer, or better dressed. He was leaning back, drink in hand, listening more than speaking. People naturally gravitated toward him. Sophie's eyes stayed on him in a way Mark had never seen. When she glanced over at Mark, her smile was polite, but her mind was elsewhere. It was the quietest rejection he had ever felt. He realized she was drawn to the man who did not need to convince her of anything. Machiavelli would have called this the silent endorsement of others, the kind of social proof that cannot be faked without breaking its spell. Real pre-selection is not bragging about your dating life or openly flirting to trigger jealousy. That is noise, and noise reveals hunger. True pre-selection is the natural signal given off by a man who moves through the world already valued. It is the presence of choice without the display of chase. Like a rare object behind glass, you do not tell people it is precious. They believe it because others stand near it. What you will see next is how this perception is not about romance at all. It is the collision of scarcity and desire forming a pull she does not fully understand. He believed more effort would make her see his value. She saw more effort as proof he lacked it. Yet when a woman senses that others already want you, without you lifting a finger, she does not just take notice. She feels the urge to compete for what they have seen. That curiosity is the seed of her obsession. How much of your attention is freely given, and how much is held back to protect its worth? When did you last push harder for her attention just to feel safe? If you dare, share it, and I will give you the move that makes her compete for yours. One word or a clock emoji is enough. Type it now. Stop rehearsing for her approval. Let your value be witnessed, not explained. Show up where your presence is a fact, not a pitch. If this feels uncomfortable, understand that what comes next will reveal why internal value outweighs any external display, and how the man who owns it never needs to sell it. The next part will show you why internal value is the one thing she cannot take away, and why external markers, no matter how shiny, will always fade in her eyes. Miss it, and you will keep polishing what was never meant to keep her. 5. Internal viz. External value. The cruel twist is that the very men who try to look like they have options are the ones who secretly have none. She can feel it before she knows why. The forced smile, the over-explained story, the way his attention clings a little too long. You can stage the scene, but if the frame is empty, she will walk past it without slowing down. Ethan was 34, tall, well-dressed, and had spent years building his career. He had the kind of apartment that caught the city skyline at sunset. When he met Isabel through friends, he assumed his life spoke for itself. The first few dates were easy, dinners at Chinese restaurants, weekend getaways, small luxuries he believed showed her she was with someone exceptional. Yet over time, he noticed something strange. She seemed more amused than engaged. She was present, but not pulled in. One evening, at a quiet wine bar, he reached for her hand as he spoke about his latest deal. She smiled, nodded, and changed the subject. That was the moment he realized she was not feeling the weight of his presence at all. All the symbols of success he had built were impressive on paper, but in person they felt hollow. She had met men with more money, more influence, more perfection in their lives, and yet still left them. What they all had in common was the same unspoken weakness. Their value existed only in what they could show, not in who they were. Machiavelli would have called this the danger of building your fortress out of glass. External value, money, status, achievements, can be seen and admired, but it can also be compared, stolen, or replaced. Internal value is different. It is the quiet sovereignty of a man who does not measure himself by the eyes watching him. One is a borrowed crown, the other is the right to rule. If you could speak to yourself right before you reached for her approval through what you owned, what would you command? Be ruthless, and I will rewrite it in Machiavelli's voice. One short line or a book emoji is enough. She will not fight for the man whose worth disappears when the room empties. She will fight for the man whose worth does not change when no one is looking. What you will see next is how this shift in focus turns every interaction into a choice you control instead of a performance you maintain. He thought wealth, status, and appearance would anchor her loyalty. She saw them as accessories, not the man himself. And when the man disappears, the moment his trophies are taken away, so does her desire. But when a man's presence carries the same weight in a plain shirt as it does in a tailored suit, her mind searches for the reason. Is it certainty? Is it self-trust? Or is it the mystery of knowing he could leave at any time and still be whole? Stop relying on what can be purchased or displayed. Begin removing the false armor that hides the state you fear she will see. If that feels dangerous, it is because you are standing on value that is not truly yours. What comes next will strip away the illusion and reveal how to anchor your worth in a place no one can touch. The next part will show you why the absence of external display can make her lean in closer, and how true authority is built in silence, long before it is seen. Miss it, and you will keep polishing a crown that belongs to someone else. 6. The validation death spiral. The most dangerous thing a man can do to his own power is hand it over in exchange for approval. It feels harmless at first. A small compliment from her brightens your mood. A little attention from her makes your day. But each time you lean on her reaction to decide how you feel, you are building a prison with invisible walls. And one day you wake up realizing the door is locked from the outside. Take Daniel, 38, a man who had built his life on winning. Career promotions, luxury lifestyle, social respect. Every room he entered, people noticed. Every success brought applause. But in his personal life, it was different. With the woman he loved, he found himself constantly checking her face for signs of approval. If she seemed distant, he felt smaller. If she praised him, he felt alive again. He did not see it at first, but she had stopped chasing him long ago. The moment she knew he needed her validation, the attraction began to die. It was not a conscious choice on her part, it was instinct. Her mind read the subtle signals. This man does not stand on his own. This man needs me to remind him he matters. And once that thought settles in, desire erodes quietly until there is nothing left but politeness. Machiavelli warned that dependency invites control. In love, the same rule applies. A man who needs constant affirmation has already surrendered the throne. He may still have the crown, but she holds the power to give or take away his sense of worth. And that power, once given, is almost never returned. It is like trading a fortress for a smile. Here is the truth you are not told. Women do not fall for men who seek their validation. They fall for men who create their own. The man who is self-validated does not crumble under criticism or inflate with praise. He can enjoy both without being chained to either. That calm self-possession is magnetic because it is rare. In a world where most people are desperate to be liked, the one who does not need to be liked becomes irresistible. What comes next is not about ignoring people or acting cold. It is about reclaiming the ground you have been standing on all along. And that ground is built on internal strength, not borrowed approval. He thought her love would be the proof of his value. She saw his need for proof as the proof he had none. And once that shift happened, no amount of effort could reverse it. Starting today, stop feeding the habit. Do not fish for reassurance. Do not wait for a message before you feel steady. Let your state of mind come from within, not from her mood. If that feels impossible, the next step will give you the exact method to break the loop permanently. Because the truth is simple. Until you cut the need for her validation, you cannot keep her desire. What is one boundary you will hold this week so her reaction cannot touch your state of mind? If you dare, state it, and I will give you the strategy to keep it. One word or a shield emoji is enough. Drop it now. And in the conclusion, I will show you how to end the cycle for good, so you walk away not only with her respect, but with your own. This is where everything we have covered comes together. The truth is not about chasing approval or building a perfect image. It is about becoming unshakable from the inside out. Every principle you have heard here points to one thing. When your value is self-created, no one can take it away. You stop playing for permission and start moving with quiet certainty. And in that stillness, attraction grows without effort. Because the man who owns his worth cannot be ignored. He commands respect without asking. He inspires loyalty without demanding it. And he moves through life with the calm of someone who cannot be bought. This is the kind of strength that makes people lean in. If you are ready to stop being at the mercy of someone else's approval and start living from your own authority, subscribe now. Your next step toward unshakable power begins here.